What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Reyes Reflection Podcast, your hub for different guests with compelling stories. Make sure you subscribe to the pod, share the show, and follow me on the socials at I'm Nathanael Reyes. Now, time to talk about those partners that allow this program to go on. Jocko Fuel, clean fuel without compromise. Mad Rabbit Tattoo Aftercare. Be bold, be you. Use promo code Reyes Reflection at checkout for a discount on your orders. ARAVE cards, completing sets one card at a time. Check out their streams on Whatnot to get moving on your Pokemon card collection today. And SMACKIN sunflower seeds with broad flavors like the cinnamon churro, garlic parm, and more. Get yours and use the link in my link tree to get a discount on your order. Now, enter time for my next guest. She is a professional matchmaker in the DMV area. She has been featured on various media platforms such as Style Weekly and ESPN Radio. She started her own matchmaking company called Bloom Matchmaking. So without further ado, Paula Pardel, welcome to the pod.
Hi, thanks for having me, Nathanael.
Of course. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and being patient with me, pulling through on that technology issue that we had, but we made it work. I'm glad we were able to do so. Like we talked off camera, it has a mind of its own. So pulling back the curtain a tad, you and I previously spoke about a week ago, and we talked about relationships. We discussed matchmaking, the process of it, genders, and their roles in relationships in the modern era. So before we get into all that, which I thought it was a great conversation between the two of us, for the individuals that aren't familiar with matchmaking or have a certain stigmatization about it, would you be kind enough to describe in your own words what matchmaking is? What's that process?
Sure, yes. Matchmaking has been around forever, arguably one of the oldest professions. But what we do is we take old world wisdom and we mix it up with modern day technology. So what we're doing is we're finding people matches for people that want a long-term healthy relationship, and I'm helping them find that. I have a large database, I have a large following, plus I also have matchmakers all over the world that I collaborate and I help match my clients with. Everyone is vetted, we do background checks, we aren't playing any of the games that's going on the dating apps. Pretty much.
No Tinder, no sneaky games behind the scenes, no inappropriate pictures. You are there to find love for people.
I am. And, to weed out those type of people for you, I'm looking out for my clients' best interests. I truly want them to have a happy, healthy relationship.
Right. Because at the end of the day, we all want to find love. We all want to be in love with someone that we feel loves us back, appreciates us. On your profile page on your website, it says that you got into matchmaking in 2018. What were you doing prior?
Actually, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and my kids were getting older, and it was time for me to get back out there. In the past, I've done a lot of sales jobs. I've been a realtor. I've done all sorts of things, and I've always been a connector. I've always loved to connect people, and I get joy from that. So I came across a job offering for a matchmaker, and I'm like, wow, you can get paid to do that? I would do that for free. So I worked for another matchmaking company for a while, and unfortunately, they weren't the best company. I learned my lesson there, but then I thought to myself, I can either take this as a bad thing, or I can take it and make it mine and run with it and run an ethical company that truly wants to help people.
What was it like being a stay-at-home mom and then fully jumping back into a career at this point in your life?
It's tough. It's tough to get everyone on board that mom's going back to work and things are going to be a little bit different. And it's tough to get back out into the job market also because it had been a while and things had changed. You don't go and hit the pavement anymore. You go on an app and find jobs on an app, which was different. And then, and that's sort of the same with dating too. If you've been out of the game, you get back out there, you're used to pounding the pavement to find someone, and now you go on an app. So that's different. And I felt that the real estate market where I am was saturated with realtors, and I didn't, we had a community pool and things like that. And I would have to be out there networking all the time. Not that I don't enjoy networking, but sometimes you want some time off. You don't want to talk about what you do 24/7 with everyone. So I guess that was my standpoint. And I was fortunate enough to find something that I feel that I was meant to do. And to find that later in life, I feel that I was very fortunate for that.
Yeah, you were able to find your passion and make it your vocation. What was the deciding factor then for you to start your own matchmaking company in 2020?
Well, I saw a lot of things that other people weren't doing right. They just weren't ethical. They weren't, I don't know. I don't want to go and, speak poorly of someone, but,
Right.
and I started meeting a lot of different matchmakers and thought, wow, I could really do this and, make it my own thing. And I did. I don't know. I guess I did put a lot of thought into it. It took me a while to form the business, my logo and my website and all those things, but it was just exciting to me. I just did it. Sometimes you just do it.
Right. Sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith and fall flat on your face. And I find that those experiences will ultimately help you progress. You can't just start up here and expect that, there's no in between. You will have low lows, you will have high highs, especially you. I'm sure you have realized this as a business owner now yourself. So walk me through this. I'm signing up on your website. What is the matchmaking process? What's that like for me, a new customer? I want to get into this. I want to find my soulmate. Walk me through that.
Sure. So usually what happens, somebody finds me on social media or they find my website, and then the best way to do it is to fill out your profile. So you can fill out a profile on my website, which is completely private. It's completely free. And then I'll take a look at it and I'll check you into the website to make sure, you look real and there's nothing weird or anything. And then you can schedule a call with me and then we talk about how it works and if I think you're a good candidate for matchmaking. I have to be careful and make sure that the people that I do take on clients are people that I can actually help. Someone that's coachable and someone that's going to listen to me and not have extreme preferences to what they want. Because when you do that, you're not going to be very successful. People put a lot of, with online dating, everyone's so focused on profiles and pictures and things like that. And this is more of an organic process. You can't always, just because someone's good on paper, just doesn't mean they're going to be good with you. So I interview them, they interview me, we talk about it. If they are interested in moving forward with matchmaking, I like to meet people in person if I can. If they're within an hour or two radius of me, I will meet them in person and we'll talk about it because I want them to be comfortable with me also. I want us to have a good relationship together because that's the first relationship that has to be a good relationship is between you and your matchmaker. So everyone knows, I know where they're coming from and what they're looking for and who they are. And they know who I am, why I do what I do, and how I'm going to help them find success.
So you're in the DMV area. You talked about how you'll even travel an hour or two to have that face-to-face interaction with that person to make sure it's a good fit. Someone is in California, Montana, etc. Are you opposed to working with them? Would you still work with them despite the fact that they're farther away, obviously, on the other side of the country?
No, I can absolutely work with someone on the other side of the country. Then we would go to Zoom. Anymore, meeting someone in person is the same as meeting someone on Zoom, just, from COVID and everything like that. And like I said, I have other connections to other matchmakers, so I would work with them in finding new matches. And plus I have people from all over the place in my database. People come in from all over. And then if I'm not the right fit for that person, I will refer them to another matchmaker that I think that could help them a bit more than I could.
So a lot of it is networking, plug in place. Hey, maybe I'm not a good fit, just maybe geographically or even just stylistically. And it reverts back to what you had said at the beginning, which is you genuinely love this, you would do it for free. You just want people to fall in love and find their soulmate, find their forever partner. You're not just looking for a quick check, which I think, you talked about some unethical practices. I don't know. I've never done anything like this, but I imagine that could be some of those unethical practices where people are just looking for checks, or they're just looking for, hey, I'm going to continue to ride this pony until it, kind of dies out type of deal.
Right. If you get on the phone with a matchmaker and their only goal is to close you and get your money today, that's not a good matchmaker. If they sound like they're trying to sell you a timeshare, that's not a good matchmaker. So watch out for those.
We talked off camera. Like I said, we talked about a week ago before this interview, and we talked about how relationships nowadays are hard. It's hard to fall in love with somebody, especially with profiles. I think 15 years ago, you were able to say, hey, my name is Nathanael. I'm this age. I love dogs. I love, walks on the beach at sunset. And I love going out to dinner, and I also love staying in. And I think that could have won somebody over. I think now with the facade of social media, there's a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. That can play a hindrance, and that can affect the truth, because optically what you put out to the world isn't always what's going on, or isn't always who you are as a person. And that's not me throwing shade on anybody who uses social media. That's just me saying sometimes when you use social media, it's not always who you truly are. It's just not. You always put the highlights. It's primarily a highlight of your life driven app, if that makes sense.
It is. And, unfortunately people do lie, or, people will say a lot of things behind a screen that they wouldn't say in person to someone.
Yep.
They can be rude. They just ghost people, and it's sad. It really is the state of things. And I do help people with the dating apps also. Like you said, putting yourself out there. It is about marketing yourself a bit. So you've got to put your best face forward on those apps, because you got a 1/10 of a second before someone swipes left or swipes right on you.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that you're catching someone's eye, that you look like someone that's approachable, and someone with the same interest would want to meet you.
It's like an elevator pitch in dating, right? Like give me the 20 seconds as to why I'm a credible person that you should want to be with me. So I'm talking about the dating apps. I'm not talking about your matchmaking process. But yes, I agree. I think those dating apps, I think a lot of it is the elevator pitch of, look at me. I need to grab as much interest. And I think that's, the way that honestly, the era that we're in. Because even in terms of media, social media, I feel like I grew up in real time, because I feel like I grew up when I used to watch YouTube videos that were anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes long. And now we're watching clips that's 8 to 15 seconds. And even myself, right, if I'm not immediately, my attention isn't immediately grabbed, I'll swipe. Going back to you, how do you determine compatibility between clients?
Well, that's different for everyone, because everyone has different ideas on compatibility and who they want and who they are. First of all, we take into account, where your life is right now, what you want out of life going forward. I work with a lot of different age groups, but, like middle-aged people. Maybe they're divorced. They haven't been out there a while, so they're going to be looking for something different, and they may need to take a different approach. So I want to look at someone that says, maybe their kids are grown and they don't want to date someone that has little kids, which is understandable.
Right.
So we're looking for that, age ranges, locality, what is surprising is that a lot of people are willing to date long distance now, because we're not tied down to our jobs as we have been in the past. A lot of us are working remotely, so we can go anywhere. So a lot of people are more open to that, but not everybody, so I want to take that into consideration. But I also talk to people about unrealistic expectations too. I'll have men and women both have their things, but a lot of times women with height, okay? Women, okay, they sometimes they think I'm building this perfect man for them, but in reality, I can't do that. I wish I could. I probably wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be on an island somewhere building up guys and sending them out there living it up. But anyway, so like the height thing. I'm not asking you to go beneath what you're looking for or anything, but you have to compromise a little bit. When you're looking for a man that's like 6 foot tall and over, you have to think about that. Well, that's less than 15% of the male population. Then you get like who's in your age range, who you're gonna be compatible with. Are they single? Are they looking for a relationship? Blah, blah, blah. So things like that. I try, but I tell people, that's not the most important thing in a relationship. I've never heard anyone say that when they were married for 50 years, on their 50-year anniversary, oh my gosh, I'm so happy he was 6 foot tall. It just made my life so much better because he could reach everything off the top shelf.
Yeah.
Things like that. And then, men with their visuals.
Yeah.
You want to be attracted to someone, but that stuff goes away when you're in a long-term relationship. Right. Those are the things that really are the glue and the foundation to your relationship.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. One, because I am a short king, 5'7", so I appreciate that you advocate for us. That's number one. Number two, I think we talked about this last week on the phone. When you say I have a type, or when you say I'm only looking for this, you're already limiting yourself. And I said this to you as well. I think where people find disappointment is in between expectations and reality. Sure, you can have expectations. You can expect your guy to be 6'2", 240 pounds, this big muscular guy, etc. Look like Batman. But the reality is not many men do look like that. I say this all the time. I go to the gym. Well, prior to me getting injured, I would go to the gym 5-6 times a week, and no matter how much I try, I will never look like The Rock. I will never look like Chris Hemsworth. That's not who I am, and that's not in my genes. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I have no conundrum with that. But I've never been a person that says my type is a girl that looks like this, because I personally feel like once you cap yourself off, you're already limiting yourself. And you brought it up perfectly, beautifully, because you said, now you got to find the guy who's 6'2". Now you got to find the guy who, I want a guy who's 6'2", has over 100K, has no kids, but is single at 30, 35, 36 years old, and looks like a movie star. And I think that Hollywood, unfortunately, sets this false expectation with how men and women alike should appear, should look, because I get it. They're trying to find the sexiest person. They're trying to find the most jaw-dropping individual that will make you want to go watch that movie or that TV show. But that's not everyday life, right? That's not how everyone is. You don't have, the common person isn't spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on their body and on their skincare to make themselves look like that, the longevity. There's a reason why J-Lo in her 50s looks the way she does. She has millions of dollars that she spends to make herself look that way. The average person doesn't have that. And so the expectation is not reality. And I think that's where I said to you, even on the phone, I find in life that most people will find disappointment in between reality and expectation. And maybe that's not the truth. Maybe that's just my view on life, but that's just what I find.
It is unfortunate, with social media, like you said, Hollywood and things like that. They do put unrealistic expectations on people. You've got TikTok and Instagram and all those things that everyone's using all these filters, and people feel like, well, I've got to look like that or I'm not going to be accepted. Yep. And that just isn't how life is. It's not. It does make it hard. I feel bad for younger people because, they have so much pressure to look perfect and to be perfect and to be someone that they're not. And it's frustrating.
I remember watching, these 90s high school, college films and thinking that that's what I was going to look like when I was 18, 19, 20, and then realizing at a certain age that I'm like, wait a minute, they have 33-year-old good-looking men playing seniors in high school. That's why they look like that. It's not, that's not reality. And I think that it's really hard because, so many people, you just brought up social media, so many people are now programmed into this false reality. And that's not me throwing shade on anybody, but so many people are programmed into this false reality of, wow, I have to look like this. So to sit there and say, I want them to look like that, or I want them to have this perfect body, or I want them in both ways, both genders, male and females. I'm not a fan of that. I don't advocate for that stuff because I genuinely think, I said this to you, I genuinely believe you're with a person because of how they make you feel. Mm-hmm. I always, at a young age, wanted to be with someone, not how they made me look, how they made me feel, because I want them to protect my spirit. I want them to nurture my soul, because you brought up, when I'm 65 and my body's shot, I'm not going to look the way that I do now in my 30s. That's not the way it's going to happen. I'm not going to look that way. I can try. I can do all these medicines. I can, try to age gracefully. But Father Time is undefeated. It will catch up to me. For me to want to be with a person based on looks or based on how I look next to them or whatever the case may be, that's not reality. That's not true love. And that might be a hot take. That might be just my opinion, which is fine. We all have one. But that's what I believe it should be. And that's what I believe it was only 10, 15 years ago. And now we've adopted this whole new parameter on relationships of, they have to be over 6'2". They have to be a C cup at least. I don't know. I don't know what guys say nowadays. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, people forget about that little pesky part in wedding vows and sickness and health, richer or poor.
Yeah, right.
They forget about that.
Yeah.
And also, and to say something corny also is like, you want someone that completes you. Maybe someone that's not exactly like you, but what they bring to the table is maybe something that you're not, that's not a part of you, but they help you with that part, and together you make a beautiful partnership.
Yeah, you're right. Like opposites attract, and when there's strengths, there's also weaknesses. And for someone who's very stoic and not emotional whatsoever, maybe a emotional partner is good for them because it can help tap into that tender side of that person. You never know. And so I agree with you. You want somebody that completes the puzzle. You want somebody that makes you feel whole. And like you said, it might sound corny. It might sound cheesy. But these were ideas that were largely accepted only 10, 15 years ago. So and maybe I'm just very fortunate of how the era that I grew up in and where I still have that mentality. And that's what I said to you. I couldn't imagine trying to be an 18-year-old at this stage, trying to figure out life. And we also talked about this, how everyone tries to do it fast, how everything is immediate gratification, immediate satisfying feeling. Because I said this to you last week when we spoke. I said, when I had a crush on a girl in middle school, I would walk them home from the bus stop, and then that was it. I couldn't tweet them all night or snap them all night, Instagram DM them all night, TikTok them all night. That was it. It was, I will see you tomorrow. I will try to be here right on time to make sure that I can walk you to the bus stop. And that was another thing, right? It was like, let's say I was meeting you, right? And I had a crush on you in middle school. And I said, hey, Paula, meet me at that rock at 3:30. If I was late for any reason, you were gone. That was it. That was how it was. It wasn't this, let me call them. Let me blow up their phone. Let me text them 20 times. Hey, where are you? And I think because they want that immediate gratification, and they've almost been programmed that way to a degree, that they now feel like relationships, it's like, oh, we have to be together right now. People are moving in 2-3 months. And I remember when I was growing up, it was like, no, it's okay to be with the person dating them for over a year before you even consider that, type of deal. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. With the swiping culture, people get addicted to that.
Yep.
A lot of the apps are actually getting sued for that because they're saying that they're addictive. But people are addicted to that because there's so much to choose from. You're going to swipe left, swipe right. And then all of a sudden you think, lo and behold, this perfect person is going to be like, whoa, here he is,
Yeah.
But, and then like you said, reality is different from how you portray yourself online. Unfortunately, people don't tell the truth. They don't tell the truth about what they want or who they are. I think also that you have to be happy with yourself before you can get into a relationship, because you don't want to bring negativity off the get-go into a relationship.
Right.
And also, we all have baggage. We all have things we've been through. People will say to me, I don't want anybody with baggage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, if you've lived 40 years, 30 years, whatever, and you don't have any baggage, have you been living?
Right. Right. Are you under a rock?
And so, but it's how we deal with that and how we move forward. Are we looking backwards or are we looking forward in trying to be a positive person and, truly opening ourselves up to love? And like you said, it's how we think a lot about, does this person like me? And we worry about that. And of course we do, that's human nature, but we have to step back a little bit and think to ourselves, how do I feel about this person truly? How do they make me feel? Do they make me feel anxious? Do they make me feel like I doubt myself and I question myself all the time? Those aren't good feelings, especially in the beginning of a relationship. Some people will do that on purpose to make you feel like that. But sometimes we just have to communicate. Yeah. And people have a hard time communicating with people because we're communicating these short texts. We're texting too much. We're online doing all these things. You need to actually have an actual conversation with somebody, either over the phone, Zoom, or in person. Texting is not it.
Right. Right. I don't know why. I just thought about this off the top of my head. Maybe I saw it somewhere, so I don't want to take full credit. But I feel like you need to love somebody the same way when they're dressed to the nines at 6 p.m. for a Friday night dinner than you would that 6 a.m. when they're morning breath, a little bit of drool right here. I feel like you got to love both. You got to love both. And I think that that's what is lacking a lot in today's world. I do. I think a lot of it is they want the 6 p.m., you're dressed your best, out for a nice dinner on the town, and they don't want that in between, maybe your stomach hurt after what you ate, so you're up until 1 a.m. with a bellyache on the toilet. They don't want that. And that's me. I'm as real as they get. So I'm just this is me, right? Like, you got to be in love with all that. That's what love is. It's not, I only love them because they look like Instagram models and they're beautiful 24/7. That's not reality. That's not what it is. You have to love them when they're sick, and you don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole, but you still love them. You know what I mean? We've all been there, right?
Yeah, you may kiss them on the head instead of on the lips.
Right. It's like, all right, baby, here you go. Good night. All right.
Go there, brush your teeth, or do something about that.
Why don't you have a Tic Tac? Just because I know you haven't been able to get up the last couple of days. Yeah, I hear you, but that's what it is, right? That's life. That's relationships, and so I love that you truly do this because you are so passionate about it. I want to circle back to Bloom Matchmaking. What kind of background checks do you perform?
I do a thorough background check. I use an online company, but I don't use what is it? Been verified, things like that. I don't use those. Although those are good if you're on the dating apps and you don't have a lot of information about people and you can see some things about people. But it's actually a thorough background check that a lot of companies use to vet their employees. So that's what I use. It's secure, it's quick. It usually comes back quick, and it tells me all about the person, everything I need to know, just to make sure. It's just one more level of security because you just don't know. I had someone come to me that was a free member. I can explain the free part of my database too. He was a free part of my database, and I was going to match him with a client, and he was going back and forth about the background check. He didn't want to do it. And I found out, from experience, generally when somebody doesn't want to do it, it's because something's there. But his excuse was, well, I don't know. You're going to take my information and steal it. I'm like, I don't want your information, dude. Yeah. But then come to find out, he finally did it. And he had charges pending against him. And a lot of charges dropped because he's quite wealthy for like domestic violence and things like that.
Oh, damn.
And he just told me, he's like, well, I just tend to date crazy women. I'm like, are you sure about that? Are you the one making them crazy?
Yeah.
Right. So, we dodged that bullet. But most people come back okay,
Yeah, if the math problem keeps equaling the same answer, it might be something with the problem. You might be the problem, and I think it's called the mirror. Go in the bathroom and look at it once in a while and reflect and self-reflect. I think that's positive for any person in life. So you do some pretty extensive background checks. You obviously check. I'm sure you check. That type of stuff. Now, in that regard, right? There are some people. We talked about baggage earlier. I'm sure that there's some people that are maybe hesitant because of their baggage. How do you handle that, right? Like there's a person, maybe he's been married 3-4 times, he just hasn't found the one. Overall pretty positive guy, but he's been married a couple times and he just jumped in these relationships. How do you handle that when somebody is like, you know what, I just have too much baggage, I want to find love, but I just feel like there's something wrong with me?
Well, a lot of that comes with the coaching. It's building up confidence and things like that. And when I present a client to a match, I'm there selling him. So I'm like your biggest advocate.
Okay.
And, I just tell them, he's really a great guy. He's had some bad luck. Because a lot of people, for instance, like if someone's never been married and never had kids and they're in their 40s or 50s, people sometimes they assume there's something wrong with them. Yeah. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. Maybe, they really value the institution of marriage and they just didn't want to fall into it and be divorced 2 or 3 times, Yep. And I also ask people, are you, when you do have all this baggage, are you moving forward? Have you seeked counseling? The new sexy anymore is a man that knows himself, can express himself, and who has emotional maturity and emotional intelligence. Yep. That is sexy as hell to a woman. And women have to do that too, but women are generally, more likely to do those things and to work on themselves than a man is, because men have been taught they have to be strong, they have to hide their feelings, but they have feelings too, and they have to express themselves, and then they can't bottle those up because you're just waiting for, a big explosion at some point.
Yeah, I hear you, because I find that a lot of times when I will speak to people, their wives know that there's something wrong with their spouses, but their spouse is too afraid to open that door up. And I think because a lot of times, I can only speak from the male perspective, but a lot of times with men, right? If you tell your buddies that you're sad, some of the times to cope with it, they say you're being a bitch or they make fun of you, right? And so there's this stigmatization of, damn, I can't say anything because if I do, I'm just gonna get shit on for the next couple weeks, because they're going to be like, hey, remember that time Nathanael said that he was sad about, his job, he didn't get the promotion, maybe he's not good enough. And then it spirals down the circle where having that emotional maturation of, hey, listen, I can compartmentalize that these are my friends that are teasing me, but I can also maybe speak to my significant other, my partner, my girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, whatever. Hey, I'm a little bummed that I didn't get that promotion, like genuinely. And then you can have that conversation where it's mature, it's honest, it's heartfelt, as opposed to the suppression of it. And, as I said, I can only speak from the male perspective. Are there times where I think you can suppress emotions? Sure. But like anything in life, it's finding that healthy balance, right? It's finding the healthy balance of, this is really taking a toll on me, and I know it, so I need to talk about it to a mature friend or to my significant other. But then there's also the time of, hey, you know what? I heard this song on the radio and it reminded me of my grandfather who I adored and he passed away. You know what? That was a good memory. Maybe I love him. Maybe I visit his grave that night. I don't know. But, there are times where you don't need to be overly emotional. At least this is just my opinion. I think emotional maturation is a strong quality in any relationship. I think it's very conducive and productive for the stability of the relationship, in my opinion, because you don't want a man who's just going to fly off the handle because he had all this childhood trauma, and you don't want this woman who's just going to fly off the handle because, she doesn't know how to control her feelings, right? There needs to be a healthy balance between each other. And, that guy who had the domestic issues, I think sometimes, one is what does they say? That one is the flame and one is the spark type of deal. And it's just not a good fit, right? It's just not a good fit because neither party are emotionally stable. So I agree with you that emotional stability is a very strong quality. Like I said, speaking as a man, we want somebody who is emotionally stable that will come to us with their problems, but they won't lash out at us all the time. Obviously, nobody's perfect. It's going to happen, men. It's going to happen. Don't freak out just because your woman lashes out. Take it with a grain of salt. Be able to compartmentalize and say, hey, I know, she needs me right now. And because I think for men, we're natural problem solvers. So I think we want to solve the problem. But sometimes, your significant other doesn't want you to solve the problem. They just want you to listen. And you got to be willing to listen.
I know. And, that is hard for women, too, because sometimes we just want someone to listen to us, just hold us and, tell us it's going to be okay.
Yep.
Without having to fix everything.
Yep.
And on the other side of that, too, when you're first starting to date someone, don't dump on someone right off the get-go. You're going to freak people out, It's like another analogy from Shrek. Watch a lot of Shrek.
Love that movie.
My kids, it's like peeling an onion. I'm an onion donkey. You just peel me. And, if you peel it slowly, it's not as offensive as if you just peel it all at once. Then you're just like, whoa, I got to get out of here. This is too much. But, it's getting to know someone in that process. And people do tend to dump on people within like the first, second, third dates. And that's not good either.
Right. Because they may feel comfortable, but it's like, whoa. I mean, that's how I would be, right? If somebody was just like, yeah, so let me tell you about my childhood trauma. I'd be like, whoa, wait a second. All right, let's wait till dessert. All right, No, I understand that. I do understand that. How do you handle feedback about your matchmaking? Somebody maybe has a negative experience. I'm sure you have positive reviews. I saw the reviews. I saw they're all outstanding, but life is very nuanced, right? There's different. It's not black or white. It's very gray. So you have a matchmaking experience where maybe the relationship didn't pan out, or maybe the person just, had a rough time. Maybe they had to work on some stuff and they weren't ready for matchmaking. They thought they were. It sounds like you do a good enough job at trying to make sure that all the screws are in before you proceed. But I'm sure sometimes, like all things, there's some people that slip through the cracks. So how do you handle the feedback, or how do you handle negative attention in that regard?
Well, I can give you a few examples. I keep my clients are private. That's a lot of the reason why they hire me. But I have fired clients before. I had a gentleman, oh my gosh, he was 70, I think. The sweetest guy in the world. I just really loved him. He seemed like a grandpa and all this stuff, but he would get on dates and he would get nervous that the women, I think his ex-wife, she wasn't very sexual. And he was so afraid that someone wasn't going to be sexual with him. And he was so horny, for a lack of a better term, that he would just be all over these women. I'm like, dude, you can't do that. You're freaking them out. I've already vetted them for that.
Yep.
And they know that you're a sexual person, but you can't do that to women. Mm-hmm. They don't like that. You have to get to know them before you just jump into things.
Yeah.
And he kept on doing it and doing it. I'm like, I can't help you. We're done.
Yeah.
You know, I call it my, can I swear?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. Yeah.
I call it the asshole clause of my contract that a lawyer wrote. You know, it's like a page.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're like doing something on dates, that I have complete right to not work with you any longer.
Yep.
And then I also had a gentleman that was not from the United States originally. He's a doctor. We did a bi-coastal match, which was working out perfectly, I thought. And I was working with another matchmaker in LA with him. We thought everything was going well, but apparently he just started to love bomb this woman, you know, promising her this, promising her that. She like went to move in with him on the East Coast and things. And then he got sick of her and just kicked her out.
Oh, shit.
It was total love bombing. And then a lot of other things came out too. Like he had this dog. I guess he was beating his dog and he wasn't nice to his help and all these other things. I'm like, whoa, hey. So, you know, I didn't know what to do with that. But I didn't work with him any longer. And he sort of blamed me for that. And I see that, you know, looking back, he's had some narcissistic tendencies of his own.
Yeah. The asshole clause. It came in full effect. So you had to implement it. That's another, you brought up the sexualization part where the gentleman was overly sexual. That's another thing I feel like media promotes. I think it's programmed in people's brain. For example, like I feel like I grew up in real time, as I mentioned. I remember there'd be music videos on MTV that couldn't be aired until after maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m. because they were too sexual. And I'll watch them now.
Thriller couldn't be aired until like after 11 or midnight when it first came out. Now I'm aging myself, but
oh, Michael Jackson. Yep. Because, and that's what I mean, right? Like,
it wasn't sexual, but it was.
But I appreciate that you bringing that up because it's true. Like, that's what I mean, right? Like, there are certain videos and music videos, TV shows that couldn't be aired until after a certain time because it was deemed inappropriate. And now I'll watch these music videos and I'm like, why was that ever inappropriate? And I think part of it, is even myself, right? To a degree, I've been programmed by society, by social media, where I don't think that that's that big of a deal anymore. But and again, this might be a controversial thing, but I think even now you open up to anybody's Instagram page and depending on who they follow, you could be dealing with somebody who is basically effectively watching softcore porn and without even realizing it because they're always looking at people in bikinis or in thongs or whatever the case may be. And that's not me shaming anybody. I'm saying that if the person is constantly addicted to that, which is what we have referenced earlier in the conversation, like I'm not telling anybody what they can and can't wear, but I think that in a way people are almost programmed because you'll see ads, right? Well, you'll see cologne or Gucci or whatever the case may be, and they're blocking they're using the cologne bottle or perfume bottle, and they're blocking their nipples or they're blocking their genitals. And I think that even that, right? Like now we'll just see it and we'll just be like, oh, it's a commercial for whatever cologne product I'll never buy. But I think it programs people in a way to almost be overly sexualized because I think that that's not what relationships are supposed to be built upon. It's not supposed to be. Now, is it an important component? Absolutely. I do agree on that. But I think that it has allowed people to overly sexualize just life in and itself. And I think while if somebody is overly sexual and another person is overly sexual, that might be compatible. But I almost think that guys and girls now, they think they have to be that way to impress the opposite sex when that's not what really impresses them. Is it fun? Sure. I'm an adult. I've been there. We've all been there. We've done that. But it's now we're at a point where it's like, there has to be more substance to what this relationship is. It can no longer just be us being risque and doing these things and then it being like, hey, that's the baseline of our relationship. In my opinion, a lot of those relationships will not sustain hardships because it's not built upon something that's worth being built upon.
A good foundation,
Right. Hedonistic sex is not a good foundation. It's just not. It's just
Although
me
those
being.
relationships can be fun, but
No, right. Yes.
Both parties have to know what the relationship is about.
Right.
And you have to, be, communicate that also. And like what you said, I think people just get desensitized to those things. It's not special anymore. And those things should be special.
Yep. Do you feel like you have a good succession rate as a matchmaker?
I do. I'm proud of the matches that I've made. Most people are happy, but like you said, with my kind of business, it can be tough. Not everybody's going to be happy 100% of the time. Yeah. But I try my best, and a lot of it has to do, they have to be willing to work with me and take suggestions and things like that. But I'm really proud of some of the matches I've made and, all the hard work and everything that goes on in the background and everything I do. When I do get a successful match, that's the best feeling in the world. And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. Real quickly, give me one sentence for someone who may be on the fence for matchmaking. Give me a one sentence on why they should choose Bloom Matchmaking.
Well, if you want someone that's going to care about your outcome and truly finding you someone that you're going to have a healthy, I know I say this all, happy, healthy relationship, I'm your person because I'm not just looking to sell you on something. And I think people get a good, idea that when they do speak to me, I would make a lot more money because I do know how to hard close people. Back in my younger days, I had a sales position where I had to be like that with people. And now that I've gotten older, I don't like it when someone does it to me, and I'm not going to do it to someone else. I'm going to make sure it's right for a relationship that's right for both of us and truly get to know you and what you're looking for. And another corny thing I like to say, I truly believe that if more people were in happy, healthy relationships, the world would look a lot different.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have as many, like when you're driving, the highway madness and flipping people off and doing all these things and just being rude to people. If we were happy at home, I think we would live in a bit better world.
I agree.
And then we wouldn't pass those things on to our children either.
Right. It's a trickle-down effect, right? It's a trickle-down effect. If you're unhappy with what's going on at home, you're going to project it, and you have to. That's why it's important to be happy, healthy. I agree with you on that. We just went on a good conversation about differences of genders, male, females, relationships. How would you convince someone who hasn't lost all faith in relationships to choose a matchmaking company like yours?
Well, it's about timing. Is the timing right? You don't want to wait forever to find your person. Why not find them now and be happy now? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people come to me, either they haven't been dating for a while or they've been on the apps and they're just, they still know that they can find love, but they're starting to lose faith. So I bring that faith, and a lot of it has to do with, the coaching throughout the process. And like with women and men, we do a photo shoot for the women. We'll give them a makeover, get their hair done, get their makeup done. And that's a good way to start out because you feel good and you have these wonderful pictures of yourself. And I am out there looking for your best interests. I am working for you.
Yeah. So as a former salesperson, you don't have to share a story, but as a former salesperson, do you ever feel like when you see somebody that and you're talking to them, maybe a first-time client, that free introduction part of your services, that you're like, man, this guy's just so full of shit. Like you can read it off of them.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you can spot that stuff a mile away.
You can smell it, right? Yeah.
That's good so it doesn't come up later down the road. Some people are a little bit better at hiding it than other people.
Yeah.
And one thing I don't think I've mentioned is that the way the business works is I take on clients. That's how I get paid. And then I also have a free database that anybody can join. You can join my free database through my website, Bloom Matchmaking, and fill out a profile. If you'd like to, we can talk about it also. You'll get a link to schedule a call with me, and I can talk about all your different options and things like that. But you're more than welcome to stay in my free database if you're not quite ready to make the plunge. And if I have a client I'm working with, then I will reach out to you and we'll start the vetting process, and we'll see if we can make a match. And then I also get requests from matchmakers all over the place for people. I'm looking for this, and I'm having trouble finding this. You got anybody like that? So, that's a good way too. I tell people, if you're looking, get in free databases with your local matchmakers, with matchmakers all over the place, because it can help you. But there aren't any promises. It is free.
Yeah. It's nuanced, right? It's very nuanced. Okay, I got a couple more questions for you, and then we will wrap up with some burning questions. What would you say to someone who went on a first date? One of your clients, they go on a first date, and they didn't want to go on another because they didn't feel that spark. Would you encourage them to pursue the relationship even though they didn't feel that spark?
Okay, I run into this a lot.
Okay.
So I try to set them up before we even start introducing them. So it's saying, okay, so you're going to meet people. You may be the right fit for them. And then you meet them in person. You're just like, you're sort of on the edge. You're like, I don't know. He was really nice, but I just didn't feel that spark.
Yeah.
Okay, I do encourage them to go out with them again, because sometimes that spark that builds into a fire over time is much more is going to be longer lived than something that we've all had it. The spark's there right away, and you're, oh my God, I want to jump his bones. I can't wait, and and it's there, and those fizzle out quickly.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot, not always, but a lot of times they do. Sometimes, when it builds up slowly, those are the best things in the world. And sometimes, I've had clients that come to me, I'm so happy you convinced me to go on another date with him. I think I'm starting to fall in love with him. And then also, sometimes I'll encourage people to go out with people that aren't exactly what they say on their profile. And they're like, why are you setting me up with this person? I'm like, I don't know. I got a good feeling about this one. Yeah. And I'll set them up, and they're like, thank you. He was so much better in person. I really like him, and we're going to go out again, and, blah, blah, blah. We're so happy, all that other stuff. And so that's nice too. And, some of the best love stories are the stories that start with, I never thought I could fall for somebody like him, or I didn't think he was my type. But look at us. We're happy as can be. He treats me well. We love each other. We've got a happy life.
I would agree. I think those are the best love stories. I do agree. Do you believe in love at first sight?
I'm not ever going to say I don't believe in something like that. You never know. I don't think it's something that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do meet someone and you just feel that. You can feel it in your heart and in your body. You just feel that vibe.
Yep.
I think it can happen.
Yep. All right. You want to wrap up with some burning questions then?
I don't know. What are you going to ask me?
All right. Let's have some fun. All right. What is the weirdest food you've ever tried?
Oh, God. What was it? Steak tartare in Paris.
Steak tartare. So like raw steak. Okay. Yeah.
I tried it. I didn't. No.
Yeah. You're like, how is this a delicacy over here? This isn't my cup of tea. Yeah. Or my bowl of uncooked meat. Yeah. Okay. You have to sing a karaoke song right now. Your go-to karaoke song. No beat, but you know all the words. What's your song?
Do I have to sing it?
Yes, you have to sing it. Don't hit me with a happy birthday. Hit me with something that hit me with something that you like on your playlist.
Hotel California.
Hotel California. That is a true karaoke song, too. That is a true one. Yep. Okay. What is the movie or TV show that if Paula's in a bad mood, she puts on and it immediately puts her in a good mood?
You know, I do have some old favorites that I always go back to and watch over and over again. Of course, I like The Office. You know, everybody likes, Seinfeld. One of the truly good shows that I like and I go back to and watch quite a lot is 6 Feet Under.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
No, I've never have. Is that
That's
a
an
murder
awesome
mystery? Is that a feel
No,
good?
it's about a family that runs a funeral home. But it's really about their relationships with themselves and how they grow over time.
Yeah.
It's a very good show.
Okay. So it sounds morbid, but it's actually a
Well,
show
a
about
little
love.
bit. I like a little bit of morbid, but it's not really. It's really about their relationships with each other and how they grow as people, and from where they started and to where they went throughout the whole series.
Okay. So it's not about the embalming process. Okay. All right. You know what? I might have to give that a try then. Okay. All right. Chat pack time. I'm going to ask you a random question from the chat pack. We'll see what the chat pack has in store for you today on this lovely day. Okay. If you could know one fact about every person that you've ever come across, what particular fact would you want to know? And then it says here, assume that the person would not have to be aware that you know this fact about them. Ooh, that is interesting. Okay.
Just like one fact about someone. You know, I my mind goes deeper than that. I want to know what's going on in their mind, what their background is.
Okay.
How they see the world.
Ooh.
You know, is that too general?
No, I like that. I like that because it's true, right? Like that is a very complex thing, how they view the world, because at the end of the day, right? I tell people this. At the end of the day, you live in here, right? You have your influences, you have your friends, you have your loved ones, you have robust interactions like this. But when I rest my head at night, I'm in here, and Paula's in here, and even if you lay next to somebody in bed that night, you're still in here. So at the end of the day, you are in here. So I love that. I love that you would love to see how a person views the world, because it's true. And even myself, to a lesser degree, I feel like I would love to see how a child would view the world, right? Like me, I feel like I know a good enough part about the world, but for someone who's never learned something, you almost get to relearn that or re-see that if you could learn that about them. So I like that. I like that.
To go back to that, have that idealistic look onto the world like a child does.
Yeah. So innocent, so pure. Everything is new. Everything is open. Yeah. No, I love that. That's awesome. All right, Paula, why don't you plug yourself in? How can the people get in touch with you? How can people contact you? Let them know.
You can go to my website, Bloom, BLOOM, matchmaking.com. Of course, I'm on social media, Facebook, Insta. I haven't done any TikToks yet. I've got to do some TikToks. I'm on all this, pretty much all the stuff, Bloom Matchmaking. You can Google me. I have tons of videos. I have tons of information. On my website, I've got a lot of helpful blogs and things like that. And if you go on my website, you can see my phone number and you can actually call me and talk to me.
Wow, look at that. So you can contact Paula anytime, any moment.
Well,
right?
I don't know about any time, but within reason.
Absolutely. Healthy boundaries, right? Healthy boundaries.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even get into that.
That's right. We didn't. We'll have to do a part two. Because this was a great conversation. I had a great time with you, Paula.
Yeah, thank you, Nathanael. I'm glad you reached out for this. This was a lot of fun.
Of course. Well, we are done for this episode of the Reyes Reflection. Follow and share the pod. Follow me on those socials at I'm Nathanael Reyes, and check out our wonderful sponsors, ARAVE Cards, Jocko Fuel, SMACKIN Sunflower Seeds, and Mad Rabbit Tattoo Aftercare Products. And as always, may you live, may you love, and may you thrive. I'm Oprah as a dude, and I love you all.